So Trump walked away yesterday from the Kim summit, right? He said apparently Kim wanted these huge concessions to have sanctions removed, but he wasn't going to give up much. He just said he would disable one of his nuclear facilities. And you know what that means coming from Kim Jong-un. It means nothing. We can't verify it. Trump didn't like it, and he walked away. Here's Trump explaining why he did it. It's cut number one.
We spent pretty much all day with Kim Jong-un, who is, he's quite a guy and quite a character, and I think our relationship is very strong. But at this time, we had some options, and at this time we decided not to do any of the options, and we'll see where that goes. But it was a very interesting 2 days, and I think actually it was a very productive 2 days, but sometimes you have to walk, and this was just one of those times.
Now, so this is typical in a negotiation, right? We always knew that Kim Jong-un wasn't the guy who was going to come forward and say, oh, yeah, I'll denuclearize. Trump has been depending on Kim to want his country to thrive economically. But does he really want that? Does he really want a kind of modern Western-style government? If they have a modern Western-style government, if suddenly business takes off, if suddenly you have media that's free and you can watch, if suddenly they can reach us and look at their cell phones and all that, isn't the first thing they're going to think is, who is this crazy fat man running our country and making us all slaves all this time? I mean, that's not exactly what Kim Jong-un is looking for. Trump was depending on that. He was trying to entice him with it. Didn't work. Trump walked away. That's the right thing to do. It obviously is reminiscent of Reykjavik, 1986, when Reagan walked away from the negotiations with Gorbachev, and the press went nuts. But let's just remember, because we started the week talking about this, let's just remember how the press was playing this before, and always in the passive voice. Critics fear, their fears are, experts say, all these things in order to put forward the narrative that Trump was going to sell the farm in order either A, to distract us from the Michael Cohen hearings, which was absurd, or B, just because Kim would flatter him. Here's NBC putting forward that narrative.
The U.S. could offer to negotiate a formal end to the Korean War. They could ease minor sanctions against the regime, or they could establish a kind of bare-bones diplomatic outpost in North Korea. But some experts worry about a surprise, like last time, remember, in Singapore, when the president unexpectedly announced the end of military exercises in South Korea after those talks. There is some serious X-factor potential coming up tomorrow night. That is when President Trump and Kim are set to meet one-on-one before that small group dinner. A lot of folks wishing they could be a fly on that wall, Lester.
And they introduced that by saying they were afraid, experts fear, critics fear, that Trump is going to be flattered. He's going to be flattered by Kim into giving the game away. And this, remember, was the other thing. Remember the Princeton professor who was on CNN? He was tweeting this out as well, who said that the whole thing is just a distraction. This is Julian Zelizer. He's a history professor and obviously a CNN commentator. And he had this exchange, which we played on Monday, I think it was, with a CNN commentator.
Both the process and the timing are of utmost importance here. Look at the process the president went through, or lack thereof, with pulling the troops out of Syria. There was no process. Right. The timing this time around is just as he's meeting with Kim Jong-un, Michael Cohen is on Capitol Hill. He has 2 private meetings and 1 public testimony on Capitol Hill. How could that impact the negotiations we see in North Korea? What could we see the president give away? You mentioned, of course, ending the Korean War. Could it be troops, and how could this impact?
Well, the fear is that he gets into a bad agreement to make big news and hopefully, in his mind, distract the public from what Michael Cohen is saying or what else is going on in the investigation. And you could end up with a historic turning point where North Korea gets a lot of what it's looking for, international standing, new kind of diplomatic stature, because the president's worried about an investigation without denuclearization. So that's what a lot of national security experts are worried about.
So that's the fear, right? The fear, that's the narrative that the press is putting forward, especially CNN, but also the New York Times, that he's such a dope. Trump is such a dope. He's going to give the game away. He's such a narcissist. He's going to give everything away. Then Trump walks away. So immediately the narrative changes. It's like you can't keep up with them. They're running so fast to change the narrative. Immediately, he's a terrible failure. And you can always count on Jim, look at me, I'm Jim Acosta, to deliver the press narrative. Here he is picking on Trump. He's now, this is the same place as CNN, same guys who were worried he was going to give the game away. Now he proves that he's a tough guy. He spits in Kim's eye. That's a big problem. So this is cut number 4.
The president staked a lot of his presidency on something that is just much more difficult than reality TV. This is not something that can be wrapped up in a season of The Apprentice. And the president made some very strong statements showing his affection for this North Korean dictator. Earlier on in the summit, he talked about having a very special relationship with North Korea and with Kim Jong-un, showing off the economic boom that has taken place in Vietnam as perhaps a roadmap for the North Koreans economically if they were to come back into the community of nations. But at the end of the day, that it just seems to be not enough for Kim Jong-un to put really his entire regime on the line. To take that kind of gamble with the president, it seems at this point he is just not ready to do that.
You're a mean, mad white man.
He is a mean, mad white man. But, I like the fact that, first of all, Acosta is always doing this. He's declaring that Trump has bet his presidency on this success, which just isn't true. I mean, Trump bet his presidency on two things, on the economy and the wall. So far, the economy is going well, the wall not so well. But this is something that has surprised everybody. And it really, the fact that he has made as much headway as he has, the fact that Kim hasn't been shooting missiles over Japan, that's a kind of a major thing. That's a good thing. He did say, I have to give Acosta credit. He said one thing that was true. One thing that was true is that Trump has overplayed the personal relation hand with Kim Jong-un. And if you want to hit Trump on something, hit him on this. Hit him on the comment he made about Otto Warmbier. Remember the guy who was arrested in North Korea for virtually nothing, tortured, obviously, came back and died shortly after Trump got him home. Here's Trump's comment on this.
The others came back extremely healthy, but Otto came back in a condition that was just terrible. And I did speak about it, and I don't believe that he would have allowed that to happen. It just wasn't to his advantage to allow that to happen. Those prisons are rough. They're rough places, and bad things happened. But I really don't believe that he was. I don't believe he knew about it.
Did he tell you that he did not, did Kim Jong-un tell you?
He felt badly about it. I did speak to him. He felt very badly, but he knew the case very well, but he knew it later. And, you got a lot of people, a big country, a lot of people. And in those prisons and those camps, you have a lot of people. And some really bad things happened to Otto. Some really, really bad things.
Why are you on
But he tells me that he didn't know about it, and I will take him at his word.
So Kim Jong-un was shocked to find out that he's a tyrannical dictator. It's like he had no idea. He had no idea he was tyrannizing his country and torturing people. That's the kind of thing that Trump does that makes people like me, who support a lot of what Trump's policies, it goes right up my spine. I don't want to see him doing that. I don't want to, I know why he does it. I know that's the way Trump thinks. He thinks if I can keep my relationship good, it's all about my relationship with Kim Jong-un. And if I can keep that good, I can make headway. That's the way he deals with people. That's the way he thinks of people. If you attack him, he rips you to pieces. If he thinks he can get somewhere with you, he compliments you. And he is the president of the country. You do not want him doing that. That's what makes this story so complex and interesting. That's what makes the Trump story so complex and interesting. But how can you keep that complexity in mind and argue about that when you have guys like Jim Acosta, putting forward a narrative, which I'll show you. Jim Acosta, you can count on him. Jim, look at me. I'm Jim Acosta. He delivers the ultimate narrative of this negotiation. It all had to do with Michael Cohen. Here he is.
So it's strike one in Singapore. He didn't get a deal with Kim Jong-un. Now it's strike two in Hanoi. Once again, no deal to denuclearize North Korea, something that he staked a lot of his legacy, a lot of his presidency on. And Jim and Christiane, in the backdrop of all of this is what happened back in Washington up on Capitol Hill at the House Oversight Committee when the president's former fixer really just blasted away at his former boss, accusing him of being a liar and a cheat and a criminal, basically, and so on. And what was a bombshell hearing up on Capitol Hill. The president presumably will be asked about that as well. He has been steering clear of that conversation here in Hanoi. He has not tweeted about it really in the aftermath of Michael Cohen's testimony. And so this will be really the first comments coming from the president about all of this. I find that just to be kind of remarkable that the president was able to hold his Twitter to a bare minimum here in Hanoi. That is something we don't see very often from the president, but he kept his powder dry. So presumably we're going to hear the president weigh in on all of that as well.
So as you know, if you're listening to this show, you know that Trump has been doing that a lot since the midterms because he catches on. He's got a very good instinct for politics, and he has dialed back his Twitter. But he did talk about Cohen. This is what he said. There's a cut two.
I think having a fake hearing like that and having it in the middle of this very important summit is really a terrible thing. They could have made it 2 days later or next week, and it would have been even better. They would have had more time. But having it during this very important summit is sort of incredible. And he lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax. And I said, I wonder why he didn't just lie about that too, like he did about everything else. I mean, he lied about so many different things. And I was actually impressed that he didn't say, well, I think there was collusion for this reason or that. He didn't say that. He said no collusion. And I was, a little impressed by that, frankly. He could have gone all out.
You know, Trump's narrative is exactly the opposite of CNN. CNN's narrative was that Trump staged this summit with Kim Jong-un to distract from the Michael Cohen testimony. Trump's narrative is that they staged the Michael Cohen testimony to distract from the summit. Which of those is more plausible? It's actually Trump's narrative that's the more plausible. I don't even know if either of those happened, but just putting it forward, if we're going to have stupid one-sided narratives, I'd rather have one that I can believe. I mean, you can't set up a summit in time to distract from a hearing, which you could reschedule in any way you want.